Hey everybody. In the last notes we took and in class we talked about multiplying positive and negative numbers, but we just looked at integers. Today we're going to look at rational numbers. Rational numbers is really a mathematical way of saying decimals and fractions. So we're going to get started with decimals here. Our first example, we have 8.2 times negative 1.7. Now looking at the fact that we have a positive times a negative, I know my answer is going to be negative before I even get started. So we'll note that at the beginning, and then now we can multiply. Now when we're multiplying decimals, we just use our standard process, 8.2 times 1.7. Now I'm going to multiply 2 by 7, that gives me 14. 8 times 7 is 56, plus 1 is 57. Now on my next line, I have to put a 0. Then I do 1 times 2 is 2, and 1 times 8 is 8. And now I add together. I got 4, I have 9, 5 plus 8 is 13. So 1394. Now I need to figure out where to put my decimal. When we're multiplying, the decimal doesn't just come straight down. What we do is we look and see how many decimal places we have in the problem. In here we have 2 decimal places. So that means that's how many decimal places we're going to have in our answer. We are also going to have 2 decimal places. So I'm going to put it right here so I have the 9 and the 4 behind the decimal. And my answer is, since it's negative, negative 13.94. Okay? Let's see one more example like that. Here we've got a little more of a complicated problem. I know I have a negative times a negative, so I'm going to have a positive answer. Note that at the beginning, and now I'm going to need to multiply 24.1 times 3.94. In addition and subtraction, it's really important that we line up the decimals. In multiplication, it's not so much important because we're going to multiply everything by everything else anyways. I'm going to do 4 times 1, that's 4. 4 times 4 is 16. Carry the 1. 4 times 2 is 8, plus 1 is 9. Now I'm going to write a 0 here. Then I have 9 times 1, that's 9. 9 times 4 is 36. Don't need that 1 anymore. I carry the 3. 9 times 2 is 18, plus 3 is 21. Now my next row I put 2 zeros. 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times 4 is 12. Put a 2. Cross that 3 out. Carry the 1 here from the 12. Then I have 3 times 2 is 6, plus 1 is 7. So now I just add straight down. I have 4. 9 plus 6 is 15. Carry the 1. That's 10, 16, 19. Carry the 1. I have 1 plus 1 is 2, plus 2 is 4. 2 plus 7 is 9. Now up here, I have 3 decimal places. That means my answer is also going to need to have 3. So I'm going to put my decimal right there. And since my answer is positive, my answer is just positive 94.954. So that is how you multiply decimals. Make sure you have each step written down, and now we're going to practice the same thing but with fractions. Okay, so here we have 3 examples. Let's start with the first one. When we multiply fractions, all we really do is we multiply straight across. Straight across in the numerators, straight across in the denominators. Multiplying fractions actually isn't too tricky. Negative 3 times 7, negative times a positive, that's going to give me negative 21. 4 times 5 is 20. That's the answer. The only thing we have to do is we have to make sure it's simplified. Now negative 21, I know 1, 3, 7, 21 go into this, but none of those go into 20, so there's nothing we can divide both of these by. We're already done, right? Fractions are pretty nice. This next one, though, has a little twist to it, so I'm going to show two different ways. Let's do the first one in blue. So we can do this one the same way we did the last one, multiply straight across. This time we have a negative times a negative. I know that's going to give me a positive. 8 times 5 is 40. And then I have 9 times 4, 36. Now here's an instance in which I see that we can simplify. I can divide this 40 and this 36 by the same number. Now I want to do it by the biggest number possible. I know 2 goes into both of those. I know 8 goes into 40, but 8 doesn't go into 36, but 4 goes into both of these numbers. I can divide both of them by 4. 40 divided by 4 is 10. 36 divided by 4 is 9. And that's our answer. So that's one way we can do this problem. We can multiply just like we would do normally, and then we would simplify our answer. Okay? There's another way we can do it, which sometimes might make it a little bit easier. It depends on what works for you. Now, in this strategy, we can actually simplify before we start multiplying. Because I know I'm just going to multiply straight across, the 8 times 5 is going to stay on top, the 9 times 4 is going to stay on the bottom. What I can do is I can actually look at the numbers in the numerator and the numbers in the denominator and simplify them even though they're not part of the same fraction. Let me show you what I mean. I see 8 in my numerator up here in my first fraction. I see 4 in the denominator in my second fraction. And I know that 4 goes into both of those. So I can divide 8 by 4 and get negative 2 over 9. And I can divide 4 by 4 and get negative 5 over 1. So now that I've simplified the 8 and the 4, now I can multiply. Negative 2 times negative 5 gives me positive 10. 9 times 1 is 9. We get the same answer. Alright, let's try this last one and then we can be done. Now here I have a positive 12, just a whole number, times a fraction, negative 3 over 4. What I'm going to do first here, actually, to help me see this better, is I'm going to rewrite this problem, and I'm going to write 12 as a fraction. I can always write any whole number as a fraction by just writing it as over 1. 12 over 1 times negative 3 over 4. Now this is one of those problems, just like the last one, where I can do it both ways. I can multiply straight across and get negative 36 over 4. And I know 36 divided by 4, that's actually going to give me a whole number. So 36 divided by 4, that gives me 9. So my answer is negative 9. Okay, I can also use the strategy where we simplified first. I know 12 and 4 both have 4 as a factor, so I can divide 12 by 4 and get 3, so that becomes 3 over 1. And if I divide 4 by 4, I get 1, so I get negative 3 over 1 here. And now I have 3 times negative 3, that's negative 9. 1 times 1 is 1. Negative 9 over 1 is just negative 9. So both strategies work. It's important to know both of them, and that way when you practice them, you can decide which one works best for you. Make sure you finish your notes and make sure you submit them so I can grade them on time. Thanks a lot. I will see you guys tomorrow.